All right, so you should have already seen a video that taught you how to find staves and count staves and look at systems and lines of music and to find the tempo and to count measures. So now I'm going to go a little further. We talk about how you find different words in different measures, how you look at the different voice parts in different measures, and talking about dynamics a little bit. So first of all, I might ask you a question like, what word do you sing in measure 7? So if I was to ask you that about this song, you would go, okay, I know this is measure 6, and then you have a bar line. So what word is in measure 7? That's this measure right here. So you can see that we sing the word ground in measure 7. Okay, what if I asked you what word do we sing in measure, or what words in measure 15? Well, let's count. So we know this is measure 12. Then we have a bar line. 13, 14, 15. So if I asked you about measure 15, you'd go 12, 13, 14, 15, because there's those bar lines. So the words are care when it is. Or if I asked you, what word do you sing in measure 25? There's a few words, but so here's 23, 24, because of the bar line here. So this is 24. So then you have a bar line here, here, here. So this is measure 25. You can kind of check yourself by seeing that the next measure is measure 26. So in measure 25, the first word is rain. And then you also sing, and it will, in measure 25. All of that because there's no bar line until here. But then also, some of the voice parts are different. So like if we look at this song, you can see only 2 of the voice parts sing, and it will rain, and it will. Because there's this voice part doesn't have any notes or words. They have these little boxes here which are called rests. This is a half rest, and this is a whole rest. You may have seen those if you looked ahead at Unit 2 theory a little bit. This voice part doesn't sing. So what you want to know, in both of our songs we're learning, Ad Astra and There Will Come Soft Rains, there's 3 voice parts. Part 1, part 2, part 3 starts a little later. Here we have part 3. And part 1 is the sopranos. That's all of you sitting in the front 2 rows on the right side. Part 2 is the second staff, is the altos. That's the part you're reading from. And part 3 is the baritones. That's everybody in the back row. And sometimes it's split, so we do have a bass and a tenor part here if we want to split. But we call it baritone because that's kind of a combination of tenors and basses. Part 3 is the baritones. And so if I asked who sings and not in measure 12, only one part does. Who sings and not in measure 12? Only part 1 or the sopranos. So because the other 2 parts have rests. So I might ask you questions about that also in your quiz. Another question I could ask is, what voice parts sing and it will rain? It's only parts 1 and 2, or the sopranos and the altos. The baritones have rests. Or I might say in measure 28, who sings and it will rain? Well, 27 is where sopranos and altos sing and it will rain, because here's 26, 27. So 28, 26, 27, 28, the baritone singer. And the last thing I want you to learn about is dynamics. And that's all of these P's and F's, and also these symbols here are dynamics. So when it says MP, that means moderately soft. That means kind of soft. So it's definitely not loud. It's not quiet, but it's kind of soft. This symbol here means to get gradually louder because it starts small and it gets bigger. Here we have a symbol that means getting gradually softer because it starts big and it gets smaller and smaller. Whenever you see F's, the F stands for loud, so MF is moderately loud. So there may be some questions about dynamics too.